Hi, this is Asim.
This is Sujoy.
This is Amrita.
And you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast about the three main Khans of the Hindi film industry.
Amir,
Salman,
And Shara.
Hi, you're listening to Khandaan, a Bollywood podcast regular feed. Thank you so much for your support over the years. We now have a Patreon channel with bonus content and exclusive merch for those of you who would like to support us. Every dollar goes towards creating more and better content. Visit us at patreon.com/Khandaan podcast.
Hi and welcome to a new episode of Khandaan Podcast. My name is Asim Bernie and this week we don't have an episode. You might know that we're preparing an 80s Dhamaka series which is going to be launching in January, and we had a huge hangout on Sunday with me and Amrita going over the lists, the short list, which movies we're picking, which might we be picking, and that list is almost finalized and we will be posting it on social. So if you want to see which movies we'll be covering, follow us on Twitter, on TikTok, and there's going to be 5 movies that our Patreons can choose to be included in the series. So if you're not a Patreon and you want to add your vote, join Patreon from $1. The link is in the show notes. So this episode is our All We Imagine As Light episode. Amrita got a chance to watch the movie and she has a little mini review for you guys. And then Yamini, Pappu Charu on Twitter and Minute on Instagram went over and had a press screening and got a chance to speak with the director Payal Kapadia and with actress Kani Kasruti. So both of those interviews are in here. So you do get a little bit of an episode from us, although we're not all of us together. Check this out. Let us know what you think of the conversation. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And we'll be back with a new episode very soon.
ഇത് പ്രവേശിക്കാണല്ലോ ഇതിപ്പോൾ ആരയക്കാനാ ഒന്നും കാണുന്നില്ല. മെയ്ഡ് ഇൻ ജർമ്മനി. പ്രഭ ചേച്ചിയുടെ ഹസ്ബൻഡ് എവിടെയല്ലേ?
लास्ट टाइम कभी फोन किया था उसने?
1 साल से ऊपर हो गया.
Hello everybody, this is Amrita. So, All We Imagine As Light is now out in very limited release, and the boys haven't had a chance to watch it, but there's been such a lot of chatter around this project even before it got a mainstream release that I thought maybe I could share my thoughts about it. Please do stick around at the end to listen to an interview with the director Payal Kapadia, conducted by friend of the pod, Pappu Charu. Okay, so the very first thing you should know is that this is not a mainstream movie. This is very much a film festival movie, and I feel a lot of people got their wires crossed because when we were discussing the Oscar noms, this movie was pitted against Lapata Ladies, which is what passes for an art movie in India these days, which is to say it doesn't have big stars and is set in a village about 20 years ago, a period piece, oh my god. But Lapata Ladies is very much a linear piece of storytelling, and All We Imagine As Light is very much not that. There are 3 main characters in this film, all of them women, and there are a few men who weave in and out of the storyline, but it's very much an exploration of what it means to be a quote-unquote ordinary working woman in a city like Bombay. It has this unhurried gaze that likes to linger on frames in a way that is, frankly, it's disorienting in 2024 for an audience that is perhaps trained within an inch of its life on YouTube and Instagram. It demands your attention and your critical thinking in a way that can be uncomfortable. I wouldn't say that this is my cup of tea cinematically for various reasons that have nothing to do with the film and more to do with me and my relationship with cinema. But I love that I kept thinking of scenes and characters for days afterward in a very soft, gentle flashback kind of way. There is a scene, for instance, where Divya Prabha's character undresses in front of a mirror and Kani Kusruti's character averts her eyes. And in the moment at the theater, I rolled my eyes a little because it was such a classic film festival movie scene. But later, I was thinking about what that scene told the viewer about the two characters and who they were and how they expressed themselves, not just to each other, but also to the world. I always complain that modern day Bollywood movies spoon feed their audiences nearly everything. In fact, it's gotten to a point where it's not even spoon feeding, it's straight up regurgitation. And all we imagine as light is the exact opposite of that. It tells you almost nothing, and everything that it does tell you is oblique and clouded, so you're forced to search for meaning. And this is almost interactive storytelling. I've also seen some criticism sent its way about poverty porn and so on, and I don't think that's valid. This is perhaps the kindest take I've seen in a long time about the lower middle class migrant population in Bombay and how they survive and the communities they forge with each other. Like any large migrant city, Bombay is ugly a lot of the time. And in that frenetic ugliness, there is a beauty that perhaps only appeals to the true blue urbanites such as myself. I mean, I love nature and everything, but give me a grimy subway because that's what I need to thrive more than some cow doing a poo in a field. I don't think this was a perfect film by any means, but I do think it's astonishing that something like this could come out of India in 2024. And it's such a throwback to the kind of art cinema I grew up on. Like, this is a movie that could only have been made by someone who went to film school, you know? So, should you watch this? I think you should. You might not like it or you may love it, but in either case, you will walk out of the cinema having experienced something unique. And I think that is worth something.
So hi Kanye, I'm Yamini. I'm from the U Podcasting team, and congratulations on the film. And also there's 2 films of yours this year that are doing kind of the festival circuit, All We Matches Aside and Girls Will Be Girls. So I just wanted to ask, how do you when these roles come to you, how do you choose them and how do you approach each one of them, in general?
I mostly do auditions. That's how I get my part. Um, I generally go with a little neutral, open mind because sometimes I need to talk to the director a couple of times to see how are they seeing this whole film and the character and everything to be able to know. If I already go with some kind of my way of understanding of the character and everything, it can make me a little rigid about my preparation. And once I meet the director, then I'll have to unlearn a lot of things that I've prepared and then again start. So I generally go with a little open and neutral, like I know nothing kind of attitude, and then I discuss with them, and then I try to show a little bit how I think it is. But this luxury happens only if there is time for rehearsals, and both these directors thankfully were open to rehearsals or open to discussions and everything. And Payal particularly rehearsed a lot. Shuchi didn't rehearse as much, but her purpose was different. Like we have rehearsed some bit and some idea and prepared for the physicality and the internalization of the character a little bit a day or two. And then once you go to the shoot, what Shuchi used to do is she would rehearse the scene and then we kind of prepare the scene and choreograph it. Then we go get ready and come back. So she had a different way of shooting. So both Payal and Shuchi had ample of, enormous amount of space and time for us to prepare. And they gave it differently, those things. Hence, it was really helpful for me to prepare for it. But I don't have a one way of looking at, okay, this is how I do and I will go. I mostly work whenever any director comes. I need a little time with them to understand how. But sometimes you're not that lucky. You go to the set directly. So if I know that's the situation, I prepare something and go. And sometimes after 2 3 days, this is not how they want it probably. So then then you have to unlearn it and like, do it differently, and that can cause some inconsistency in how you play. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Payal and
I had the pleasure of talking to Payal Kapadia about this, and also like because she was shooting in Malayalam, which is not like
her
her
language.
language at all. So how was it like? First of all, like working with a director who's not fluent in Malayalam, how much of like your own inflections and sensibilities kind of came into the like? How did that work?
So I have worked with other directors also who made content in not their mother tongue, or they didn't speak. But what was special about Payal is by the time we reached for the pre-production of the film, she has thoroughly worked on the script with her assistant director Robin. He has translated the film, but it was not just like he got the script and he just translated and gave it back to her. No, he and she would sit together, and then she will ask for all the probability of words that's possible for one meaning. Like if you want to say water, there is and like if some other words are there, like all kinds of words. Like in south of Kerala, there are different words. So north of Kerala, like as you know, like so many different words for the same meaning. So she will ask for all kinds of words and all kinds of phrases, and Robin will kind of tell her all the different words with different permutations and combinations, and she will listen to each, and then what sounded right for the tonality of the film, she would choose that. And that's how they wrote the whole Malayalam script. Like it's an incredible job that they've already done. For a year she worked on the script, sitting with him on a day-to-day basis, and she really knew what was it sounding in that Malayalam. She'll be like, oh, this word we chose because that was okay, kind of, like, so this was already there, which was already incredible. So when we came, all the actors came, we were like, wow, it's so beautifully written. Even then you don't see like how did that happen. And then once actors were fixed for the characters, we were like, okay, maybe these characters, this one is probably from this part of Kerala. And then when we'd finalize that, Prabha, we'd set her probably from Kollam or something. And then I had this friend from Kollam, she helped me to rearrange the lines slightly, and I will tell Payal and Robin the new tiny differences in lines, and Robin will be like, I think Kani, maybe what about this and that, and then I'll ask my friend, and then he will approve first, and then we will listen Payal the differences, and then she will approve. So that was a long process, like, but she really worked like a lot to achieve what it is now, and I don't think even Malayalam directors work so much like that. So I won't say my actor's contribution is a lot in terms of the dialogues, but we have been, the moment we fix the background of the characters and where they are coming from, the dialect and everything, we changed a bit with the approval of file, where we have given all the combinations and what's the difference. And sometimes if it didn't match with the tonality, we took the freedom to go back to what finally ultimately she wrote originally, so that, because at the end of the day she really wanted to keep that consistency of tonality, and that negotiation was happening through Robin and Payal like that. So that's how it happened. Yeah.
So Prabha's character, I think that was the one that kind of, because the thing about this film is also like every time I think it's gonna like, is it going to get like a bit more intense? I'm gonna be more worried. But then, like, I think the way that she dealt with it, I was like, oh, it's just
light.
It's just a part of like people's lives. But Prabha's character is definitely the one I think I felt a little bit more pained by, because I'm like, I get that. That is the thing, right? We're all like hungry for love, and we want to be able to have that constantly. And when you get to the ending, when you get to the reconciliation, like, I feel like the ending just had this magical quality that kind of leaves as a viewer, it's like you're really not sure between like the lines between like reality and imagination are really blurred. And how did you interpret it as like
The very end?
in relation to the themes of like life, loss, and acceptance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like the very end of the scene, it was not like dreamlike for me, but that between where kind of Prabha transit through that or move forward, and that scene we don't know whether it happened or not, or it's just a conversation she had in her mind, or was it a dream, or like or did she have a conversation with someone, or did she write this in the diary, or did she actually this happen and she got a closure? Was that just a stranger and where she thought it's her husband, like, or was it actually her husband she envisioned and then had a conversation on her and then she moved on, like whatever. But after that, the very end of the scene where Anu and Prabha talks and then they come and sit, and then where Anu brings her boyfriend and they sit, for me that's the most rooted scene of the film, where that inclusivity and that acceptance of each other, and it's a starting point of or one turning point of life where they are all like going to open up, and like changes are going to happen in a better way, just because they're accepting of what the situation is, and ready for listening to the other, and also accepting them, something like that. For me, that's how that scene was. But the previous scene, like you said, was dreamlike and it didn't happen or not. And the thing is, the pun that she did in, I don't know if you speak Malayalam, the Malayalam title is, I don't know if you read, it's called Prabhayai Nilachadalla, means it's not exactly all we man in a slide. It means whatever Prabha has made up in her mind, whatever Prabha has imagined, whether all this happened or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. And which is a pun, because in Malayalam title, it can also mean only imagine a slide. Prabha Indirachadalla. It also means, because my character's name is Prabha, it's all what she thought. So that's kind of the film is like coming back to her perspective.
Yeah, also like a part of it that because this film has been like like doing incredibly well, and like everyone around the world, like, and especially because you're bringing up like with Malayalam, like all these nuances and all of that. So I just want to ask, even as an actor, like how has it been just kind of seeing how people interpret this film, like, because it's so universal, right? Like it's a migrant story, something that a lot of people can relate to, but at the same time, like with the language, there's so many nuances a lot of people
Probably missing out.
I
I mean, that can't really help. I mean, even when we watch films from other part of the world, we might be missing a lot of nuances. No, so far, I mean, wherever I've went, and people's feedback that I've received directly or messages, everything, people are really getting the film. I hardly seen someone not getting what it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's translating quite well in that way. Of course, the nuances, I mean, I'm sure I have missed some, probably what Bile meant. That can always happen, right?
Yeah. No, of course. And yeah, again, like bringing up not just Paya and Kapadi, but also like with Chaya Kadam and Divya. But like how was the process like with collaborating with these women, especially like because Chaya Kadam, like one, I'm in awe of her, like, because I spent so many years of my life in Maharashtra.
Oh my God, yeah.
I've seen so much of her film before, and this year especially, like it is like Hindi cinema, this, and it has been her year, like
yes, truly. Like she's in Lapata. She's in Sister Midnight as well.
Yeah, she's that. She was in even like no, I wouldn't say Ma has been more mainstream. She's in Madgaon Express, and her character is like the one I came out like, what a brilliant character, and what a brilliant.
And Chai is like really, like I also been, I haven't watched all of her work, but whatever work I have seen, I've been always looking up to. So when I got casted in this film, I asked Payal, who's playing Parvaty, because it's one of my favorite character. It's something that I don't think I can pull off also. Some characters, it's going to be the most difficult. It shouldn't fall into the stereotypical way of interpreting that character, but it should also be fun and same very true and rooted. And I was like, I may interpret it so fakely. I wouldn't be able to pull this off. And then she said, hi, and I was like, wow, I love this actress. So I was so much looking forward to rehearse with her. And from day one, I mean, I did not know her before personally, but from day one, she gelled with all of us so fastly, and she's such a sport, like ready for anything, anytime, and like a really mazak kind of person, and an amazing person. Like I really, truly enjoy. I mean, we all enjoy. Like even Nivya also enjoys her company so much, and to learn from her was my main thing. Like as an actor, I'm always amazed by how she, like, there are some lines sometimes file, and I'm like, but this sounds so dramatic. I don't know if it's right. I mean, dramatic is not the right way, but like maybe it won't fold up nicely. And then Chaiji Larai, it's her line. Okay, she just says, and I'm like, wow, it sounds so right. Like any line that you give it to her, she'll just make it like that's like a easy cakewalk. Like she's really good at that. Like for me, I have to work a lot on my lines for it to fall at least rightly, because some lines, if I don't say those words in my life personally. It takes some time for me to make it my own. And Chaiji is such an, like, like anything that you give to her, instantly she will make it on her own. That's one really plus point that she has, I believe. And she's contributed really amazing lines to this film. The Marathi lines that some of the it's not Marathi, it's Norwegian Payal's language, but the Ekda Shiv, Sadashiv and all this, Chaji's contribution. Like Payal had idea, but exactly what to say was Chaji brought all that. So that's how I really looked up to her. For me, Divya was someone who was a friend of mine from some time. We have worked in a soap opera together. We have done a play together. So I've been seeing her craft of acting for some time. And then for me, when I went to watch, not while we worked, because we knew each other, so I knew her. Then when I watched the film at premiere at Cannes, I thought, oh my God, she was my most favorite actor. She has risen above, like she has outdone herself. Like I was like, Divya, I can't believe I could not see you. And I know you so well. And I didn't realize when you were doing it. Now when I watched the film, you've pulled off something that I'm so proud of. And I can see the long way that she's came from where she is to now, and how much she's improved in her craft, and it's incredible what she's done in the film. So for me, that was my experience for Divya. I was like, oh, I was blown away by her performance, really. Yeah.
I mean, that is, that, because she, like, I think everyone was so brilliant. Yeah, I was just spellbound by the way. Like,
Yeah, but for me to also see the, the journey, like, because Divya, like when you know the co-actors and we see the journey, that's something else, like you really feel proud of it. Like, wow, like this person was this and then now they're here, like, and you see all the steps and how much she's come. That's really amazing. Yeah.
So, of course. And so I just want to ask, like, for me, a big part of this film, like what kind of felt very personal to me is just like the theme of like found family. Because again, that's such a migrant scene, that's such a thing, like especially if you're someone who moves around or at a place it's not your, so what was like I feel like your major personal connection to the film? Because for me, this is one thing that I came out like, not just found family, but how beautiful it's like shown with the way. And I feel like Prabha's character is really kind of the thread between like with Parvati and Anu. So yeah.
Yeah, for me personally, I have also been in cities, in places where I don't speak the language and I don't know how to communicate. I don't have friends, I don't have family, I don't have the money, and I don't know how I'll survive. And such female friendships or friendships have emerged out of such places where none was there, nothing was there to help. So in that aspect, I personally relate with the story a lot. But of course, I'm still so privileged. I haven't been in the shoes of any of these characters. So I can't really say it in that aspect. But I have been at the same time in a city where I was a student and I had no money and no friend and no language I spoke, not even a word. And I am probably identify with Dr. Manoj most. Let's say, like, I don't know how to survive and I probably will go back, So that is my personal connection probably. But I think, like the one thing that probably can really make us resilient and come out of it is like these people surrounded by you, and you somehow discover them, and then you make that new family or the kinship that meant to be yours, and to discover yourself in a true spirit, and then allow yourself to be yourself, Yeah. That's how I see it, yeah.
So of course, and also like I mean, again, like with the cultural context or whatever, when we look at like, there is this undertone of like systemic oppression that you do see very much, and like you had said, like with privilege and everything, these are things that we know so much more in theory than in practice. But I feel like how do you think this film reflects like these kind of contemporary issues in society, and probably why it's one of the reasons why so many people can relate to it?
Yeah. I mean, I do think, Payal is very subtle in that way, like, which I like, in everything, like in some of her lines or in the background, and you see the reflections of sometimes in some shots, it's designed in a way that this whole gigantic system is kind of very easily, closing their eyes to the problems that they can avoid, but then not really, like the particularly Parvati story. Payal was saying that a lot of people in Bombay, that actual factory when it was shut, people were just sent. They were never met with what they have demanded, and of course change is inevitable to to have certain kind of development, you need to kind of abandon things, but then you need to also provide for people whose life has been suddenly, stopped because of that, and they don't know how to live. So, I mean, the film is resonating of all that, but in Payal's language, which is even the characters and everything, I think it's also very subtle and poetic. It's not like a political pamphlet that's out there in the film. It's more of a subtle way where you see it, like it's like she's just gently turning her head into that direction kind of thing. But yeah, it's very much there. I mean, it's a political film as well for me.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this is my time is up. But thank you so much for like this. And yeah, it was just wonderful to meet you, and I'm so glad that I got to see the film.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, thank you.
So, hi, Payal. I'm Yamini from the podcasting team. Yeah, that's all right. Also, like, congratulations on the Grand Prix. Like, how has it been, like, taking your film, to all these festivals right now, and now you're in London? Like, how has the experience been?
Firstly, thank you for having me. And it's really nice to be here and to talk about the film. And I'm excited about the release here as well in the UK. And it's been a really fulfilling experience, because I think as independent filmmakers, one of the things that you really want is that your film gets shown, and to get shown in a cinema, which is really nice. And so I think I've been just so it's been such a great privilege.
And how has it been, like, just taking the film to all of these, like, different countries and places and all of that?
And it's interesting for me to see how other people respond to the film who don't understand entirely our cultural context. And it's just interesting to see what they find in it for themselves. And that's always something I'm curious to know and understand also.
So, one, like, because I'd gotten a screening of the film yesterday, and there are just, like, there's so many layers to this. I mean, at its heart, it's very much like a migrant story. And one thread that particularly, like, really stood out to me, again, as someone who's moved around so much, is the idea of the chosen family, especially with all of these women, and especially in a place like Bombay. Like, having lived in Bombay, you see the hustle and bustle of that city, and it's just so intense, and there's so much trappings to, like, Bombay as well. And, like, there is also this political tone of, like, systemic oppression. So I just wanted to ask, like, where did this story germinate from? Where did you get this idea? Like, what was the main narrative, and then all these other, like, narratives, where did they come out of?
I'm from Mumbai, but it's not a city I always, I lived outside a lot. And I think when you leave a place and come back, you see its change very obviously. And for me, it's a city that's always in a state of change. It's one of the biggest characteristics of the city, but it's also that change can be both good, but also quite often quite brutal to a lot of people who live there. And very easily, there is a kind of violent gentrification that happens in Mumbai of people and displacement within the city, which is unfortunately become like the norm. And we accept that this is the way it is. And this is something that I don't think was the kind of ethos of the city maybe 20 years ago. And I feel more and more that our attitudes have become that, oh, this is how it is, but why should it be like this? And this is something that I was very concerned and bothered by, because it's a city that I think has been made by people who've come from everywhere. And it's important that there is a more inclusive attitude that we have. And I think that was kind of the starting point of the film, but also about women who come to work in Mumbai. Because, like I said, even though I'm from there, I lived outside a lot. And when I didn't have any friends from Mumbai, from, like, say, my childhood or anything, because I didn't have any school friends like that. Mm-hmm. So most of my friends are the ones who were from FTI, the film school I studied in. And they moved to Mumbai, and they have a totally different view of the city. So I started seeing it through their eyes and, through the experience of coming and living there and settling there, and what does it feel like and what does it mean. So all these things kind of were all the masala to make this film.
No, honestly, I did feel that, because I also did feel like this was an ode to Mumbai. Like, I feel like you capture the harsh realities, which I feel like are often romanticized in a lot of other films, because you can romanticize. I see. When you look at Mumbai from both sides, you can see it as a very romantic city. There's so much heart in the city, but at the same time, like as you said, like London is as well, it's a city that is built of migrants. It's not a city that would thrive if it weren't for the migrants. And moreover, like the struggle to survive and the loneliness that we feel as migrants in the city, and which I really loved, specifically through the doctor's camp. I felt like, because the women, I feel like, ended up somehow at least like integrating with the city much better. With him, it was so difficult, and you see the pain whenever he talks about it. So did you think of this as like a Mumbai story more, or like a story of migrants in a big city?
I feel the both are connected, because I feel you can't talk about Mumbai without the people who come to live there and make it home. And so it was linked. But the element of the flux was important to me, because I feel that it is really a city that is in constant change and constant flux, and even the shape or the map of the city is changing at the moment, because land is being reclaimed, and the very origin of Mumbai was from 7 islands that were reclaimed from the sea by the British East India Company. So the entire the geography of the city has been in constant change. So that's how I see the city, as something that is in a state of flux.
So, I mean, because I had talked about like how your journey has been with the film so far, but then from like the conception to the writing to now seeing it like being globally distributed, like, is there any like specific goal, a milestone that you'd really like the film to reach?
Oh, I'm already very happy with how the film is done, and it was a film that I worked on for many years. It was 5 years that I worked on this film. So, when you're working on something, you don't think that I wanted to go for this festival or I wanted to go for that. You just hope that people will watch it, and whatever way you can to make people watch it, whether it's winning at a festival or it's being selected at a festival, it's all like adding to that goal. And I think as filmmakers, that's all we can hope for.
Yeah. And that's wonderful, yeah. So one thing that I really like, that I'd constantly kept noticing, especially in the film, because even when the introduction happens, right, you have like people speaking in different languages. I just wanted to ask, why Malayalam? Like, I know it's a story of nurses, and is Malayalam like your first language or whatever? So I just wanted to ask, why in Malayalam? Like,
I don't know, it was a crazy idea that I got 5 years ago. But I was like, when I started writing the script, I was spending a lot of time in hospitals due to personal reasons. And I made friends with some nurses who were there. And a lot of the stories I got from them, and they happened to be Malayali. So I felt that it would make sense to make the film in Malayalam also and see how it goes. Because I think some of the questions and things I wanted to deal with in the film, whether it comes to language as a form of alienation, but also a form of privacy, and all these other questions worked well with the characters. And there is a kind of independence to Malayali women, and there is a kind of moving to other places attitude that is there, very much part of the culture. So I was so then and also after I started writing the script, I met a lot of people from the Malayali film industry who were really supportive of this random person coming there to make a film, and because I had to meet a lot of actors, and there was a kind of generosity of spirit, and I've always been inspired by the work happening in the Kerala film industry. So, and they have great actors also. So it all kind of made sense suddenly.
No, but now that you bring up actors, like casting, like for one, the casting of this film, incredible. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up like Chaya Kadam, who's been having a fantastic year. I personally think this is 2024 is her year.
I completely agree.
Like literally with Lapata Ladies, with All We Matches Light, and even in like Madgaon Express as like Kanchan Comedy, like she's just had an amazing year. So how is the casting process of like just getting these women?
When I started casting, I had this completely ridiculous idea that I'm going to be able to cast a woman like Parvati from Mumbai, who is actually, living and working there, which just reflects on my complete ignorance and privilege, because they were like, sorry, we are not going to stop our job and do your movie because are you going to think about employment afterwards? And I was like, oh shit, yes, this is, oh no, this is, it's ridiculous for me to think this. And then I was a big admirer of Chaya. I had seen her in Fandry like 10 years ago when I was a student at FTI. And I was completely like taken by her performance because it was so powerful in that movie. But I didn't think that she would, like, she's such a veteran actress, and me making my first film, and I narrated the story to her. And I think she connected to the character of Parvati because even Chaya and Parvati are both from the same region in the Konkan. And like her village is not very far from where we shot Parvati's house. So I think she connected a lot to the story and to the dialect and language and the kind of woman Parvati is, who's super strong on her own. So all those things I think she connected to, and I felt were really right to cast her as this character because of all the same reasons. So that's how we started working together on this film. And with Anu and Prabha, who are played by Divya Prabha and Kani Kusruti. They're just really great actors. I think because in the Malayalam film industry, they do a range of work also. Like Divya does mainstream films, but she also does a film like Aripu, The Declaration, which was in Locarno 2 years ago. And in that, she's like a very serious and severe character. And in this, she's like this very playful person as Anu. So I was always interested in the kind of work they were doing, and I always found them to be versatile actors. And then I approached them. And for me, one thing that was important was people who are willing to give time to the film and also agree with some of the themes in the film. And fortunately, I found people like this, and we formed a really nice friendship, all of us. So for a director, I think that's the greatest privilege.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Like, and you had brought up the location. Actually, that was one thing I wanted to ask. Like, where was the entire the location when we go to Parvati's the village, like the caves, the area? Like, I mean, I figured it was probably like Konkan, but where exactly? How did you do the location scouting for that?
It was in the Konkan. It's in the Ratnagiri district. It's a town called Ganesh Gule. It's close to Ganpati Phule. So there is a strong connection between this region and Mumbai, because all through the 20th century, a lot of people moved to work in Mumbai from this region, especially in the cotton mills. So there is a long history of this movement between the two spaces. And I wanted to acknowledge that connection between Ratnagiri and Mumbai. So it was important for me that Parvati, whose husband worked in the mills, was originally from Ratnagiri, which is why I chose this region. And thankfully, I had a location scout, great man called Kishore Sawant, who's both from Mumbai and Ratnagiri. So he was instrumental in like exploring the entire region and really kind of specifically finding this location and the cave and really, he's like an artist, and it's rare to find somebody like that.
No, but also like delve a little bit more on locations, because like a lot of, especially the first couple of bits of like when you see like Mumbai, it kind of feels a little bit like a documentary in the way it's shot, because I feel like, the scenes with like Anu and Shaz when they're walking through like Cow Gully, and even when they're just like, walking, and the trains and in the rain with the Ganpati and everything, like how did you manage to do that with the Mumbai chaos and the monsoon, like on top of that? Like it's
I like to shoot a lot like non-fiction. So lot of those scenes we just shot them with a small DSLR camera, like we were making a documentary film. Because I feel there's no other way really to shoot Mumbai authentically, unless you have like a huge budget and you can get a lot of people and great, to recreate it. But it's such an interesting city to shoot, and it's also what I like to do. So fortunately, the actors also, like when they were walking around Muhammad Ali Road, they were quite open to just being the characters without having, too much direction, because they really internalized the characters well. So they were just walking around as Anu and Shiaz, and we were shooting as if we were making like some tourist videos.
Those bits just because remembering like when I was in Mumbai and like, and also I just wanted to ask like, because it's such a like women, like it is such a women's story, like, and as migrant women especially, like, did you like, delve into any like specific filmmakers or any like influencers, like were there any women who sort of like served as inspirations who make these kind of films for you?
Who made these kind of films? I'm inspired by a lot of filmmakers from around the world, and like Agnes Varda and Alice Rohrwacher, Claire Denis, and Naomi Kawase are just a few who come on top of my head. Chantal Ackerman, because I know they're going to have a retrospective and I really admire
her. Yeah, also finally, like with the momentum now that like All We Imagine Is Light has been having, what changes do you hope it would bring to how we see independent film in India, just how it works in India? Like, because I mean, obviously I have known about you having studied film in India, and it's been a long road to where you are now, and I was like, what are your hopes of what like your film will do for, a newer generation or a group of women who are trying to make independent cinema?
I think that I am actually a product of change that is already happening, and I'm one of those many filmmakers, because this year we had so many filmmakers from India in Cannes, which is a rare moment for us, and there were filmmakers who were women also, or at least themes that were to do with women. So I think that there is a change that's happening, and I have benefited from this change. So I hope that it goes longer and wider, and it's different directors from different backgrounds get the opportunity to make films, and they also get shown around. That's for me one of the most important things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Khandaan Podcast for Nurse Prabha.